Camila Reyes, a struggling designer, agrees to a millionaire's shocking marriage proposal to save her boutique and family. But when betrayal strikes, she uncovers secrets that will change their lives forever. Before we dive into the story, let's do what Sleepless in Seattle taught us. Share where you're listening from. Comment below. The silk drapes across Camila's fingers like water, catching the lamplight as she adjusts its fall against her dress form. Her cramped Los Angeles studio feels smaller at night when the city beyond her windows has gone quiet and there's nothing left but her designs, and the steady whisper of fabric against fabric. Half-finished garments crowd the space around her, their shapes throwing familiar shadows in the warm glow of her work lamp. She steps back, studying the wedding dress's silhouette. The beadwork she's been laboring over catches the light, each crystal sewn with precision born of practice and desperation. It's beautiful, the kind of piece that should have buyers lining up outside her boutique. Should have. The thought snags like a loose thread, threatening to unravel her concentration. Her phone buzzes against her workbench, the screen illuminating a stack of unopened envelopes. Bills, all of them. The landlord's name flashes across her screen and Camila's stomach tightens. She lets it go to voicemail, focusing instead on adjusting the dress's neckline. The rent can wait another day. The wedding dress can't, not if she wants to keep her remaining clients. The phone buzzes again. This time, her mother's name appears and Camila's hands still on the fabric. She answers on the second ring, her voice steady despite the flutter of anxiety in her chest. "Mama? Everything okay?" "Just got back from Dr. Martinez's office," Rosa says, her voice carrying that forced brightness that makes Camila's throat tight. The new treatment options look promising. Camila sinks into her work chair, fingers tangling in a loose piece of lace. "What did he say about the costs?" A pause stretches between them, heavy with everything they're both trying not to say. "Don't worry about that, mi amor. Focus on your work. Those beautiful dresses of yours are going to change everything, you'll see." The faith in her mother's voice makes Camila's eyes burn. She blinks hard, her gaze falling on the magazine clipping pinned to her inspiration board, her first design competition win 3 years ago. The headline reads, "Rising Star in LA Fashion Scene." She'd been so sure then, so certain that talent and hard work would be enough. "I have some savings," Camila says, though they both know it's not true, "and the boutique is doing better." Another lie, smoother this time. She's getting too good at pretending everything's fine. "Camila?" Her mother's voice softens. "Mi vida, I can hear how tired you are. Don't stay up all night working again." "Just finishing some details," Camila answers, already reaching for her needle. "Get some rest, Mama. I love you." After they hang up, the silence settles back around her like dust. Camila opens her laptop, forcing herself to look at the boutique's sales numbers. The screen's blue light makes the figures seem almost unreal, a sharp downward trend that matches the dwindling foot traffic in her store. Her designs are unique. Everyone says so. But uniqueness doesn't pay bills, and without money for marketing or the right connections, she might as well be invisible. A flyer catches her eye, partially buried under fabric swatches. The annual Children's Hospital Charity Gala, where local designers can showcase their work. The entry fee alone would eat into her grocery budget for the month, but the exposure. The right eyes on her collection could change everything. Camila smooths the flyer with trembling fingers, her mind already calculating what she can sell, what corners she can cut. It's a risk, probably a foolish one. But as she looks around her studio at the dreams stitched into every garment, she knows she's running out of options. The dress form stands sentinel in the corner, its white silk glowing softly in the lamplight. Camila picks up her needle again, each stitch a prayer, a promise, a desperate bid for survival. Outside, Los Angeles sleeps, but in her tiny studio, Camila works, racing against time, bills, and the growing fear that talent isn't enough, not in a world where connections and capital speak louder than creativity. The crystal beads catch the light as she sews, winking like stars, like tears, like hope. Morning light filters through the boutique's front windows, casting long shadows across the empty floor. Camila adjusts a dress on one of the mannequins, smoothing invisible wrinkles from the fabric. Her phone chimes with another reminder about her mother's upcoming treatment session, and she makes a note to reschedule tomorrow's client fitting. Just a little tighter here, she murmurs, pinning the bodice on her current client's wedding dress. The bride-to-be shifts impatiently, checking her phone. These fittings used to bring a steady stream of referrals, but lately they're becoming rare. Social media is full of cheaper alternatives, fast fashion replicas that miss the soul of her designs but capture the market she's struggling to reach. Her own phone rings again, the hospital scheduling department. Camila excuses herself, stepping into the back room where rolls of fabric wait like silent witnesses. Yes, I can bring her on Thursday instead, she says, mentally rearranging her week. The afternoon works better for... A crash from the front room cuts her off. She rushes back to find her client tangled in the dress, a display stand toppled beside her. I'm so sorry, the woman stammers, face flushed. I was trying to see the back in the mirror. Camila helps her up, assessing the damage. The dress is fine, thank God, but the scattered accessories will need to be reorganized. Again, she pastes on her professional smile, the one that's becoming as much a part of her daily uniform as her measuring tape. No harm done. Let's finish your fitting. Later, after the sun is set and she's triple-checked the gala submission forms, Camila allows herself a moment of doubt. The entry fee receipt sits heavy in her bag, representing meals she'll skip and bills she'll juggle. But as she surveys the collection she's chosen, pieces that represent everything she is, everything she dreams of becoming, she straightens her shoulders. This has to work. The gala venue glitters with promise and pretension. Camila's display, though modest compared to the elaborate setups around her, showcases her best work. She's arranged each piece to catch the light just so, letting the craftsmanship speak for itself. Other designers mill about with their entourages, their confidence buoyed by marketing teams and financial backing. Camila stands alone, watching potential buyers pass by with barely a glance. Extraordinary detailing. The voice catches her off guard. A man stands before her display, studying the beadwork on her evening gown with genuine interest. His suit probably costs more than her monthly rent, but there's something in his expression that gives her pause, a thoughtfulness that seems at odds with the casual wealth surrounding them. Thank you, Camila responds, professional but reserved. She's learned to be wary of rich men's compliments. The way you've integrated traditional techniques with modern silhouettes, it's unique. He extends his hand. Mateo Vargas. The name registers faintly. She's seen it in business sections she usually skips. She takes his hand briefly, noting his firm grip, the way his eyes remain on her work rather than scanning the room for more important people to impress. Camila Reyes. He opens his mouth to say more, but she's already turning away, adjusting a sleeve that doesn't need adjusting. After a moment, his footsteps retreat, mixing with the ambient chatter of the gala. Camila releases a breath she hadn't realized she was holding, her fingers brushing the fabric of her display piece. She doesn't need another wealthy patron making empty promises. She needs real buyers, real opportunities. Back home, surrounded by the familiar chaos of her studio, Camila unlaces her uncomfortable shoes and checks her phone. No messages from potential buyers, no miraculous solutions to her mounting problems. The gala's gift bag sits unopened on her workbench, full of luxury samples she'll probably sell online for grocery money. A notification pops up. Someone's mentioned her in a social media post about the gala. Her heart leaps, then sinks as she realizes it's just another ethereal photo lost in a sea of hashtags and fleeting attention. Her designs deserve more than this, she thinks. Her mother deserves more than watching her daughter's dreams unravel thread by thread. Across the room, her sewing machine sits waiting, patient as always. Camila eyes the stack of alterations she needs to complete by tomorrow, the bills she needs to sort through, the emails she needs to answer. The night stretches ahead, full of small tasks that keep her business alive but don't move it forward. She squares her shoulders and gets to work, ignoring the voice in her head that whispers, "This isn't enough, will never be enough. Tomorrow she'll try again. Tomorrow something has to change." The hospital waiting room smells of antiseptic and stale coffee. Camila sits rigid in an uncomfortable chair, her sketchbook open but untouched in her lap. Through the consultation room's door, she can hear the murmur of voices, her mother and Dr. Martinez discussing treatment options that sound more like financial suicide than medical care. When the door opens, Rose's smile is too bright, too forced. Camila recognizes the look. It's the same one she wears when checking her boutique's accounts. Dr. Martinez's expression is grave as he outlines the new treatment plan, using words like aggressive and time-sensitive. Each syllable lands like a weight on Camila's shoulders. The success rate with this protocol is significantly higher, he explains, his pen tapping against the prescription pad. But given the costs involved, we'll figure it out, Camila interrupts, her voice steadier than she feels. She takes her mother's hand, noting how thin her fingers have become, how prominent the veins are beneath her skin. Whatever it takes. Back at the boutique, reality waits like a bill collector. The afternoon light illuminates dust motes dancing through empty space where customers should be. Camila's phone buzzes with another email, a client canceling their order, choosing a cheaper alternative they found online. The fourth this month. She moves through her space like a ghost, straightening dresses that no one's touched, adjusting displays that no one's seen. A notification pops up on her laptop, another automatic payment failed. The boutique's social media feeds mock her with their dwindling engagement numbers, each like worth less than the thread she uses to stitch her dreams together. In the back room, she finds an old magazine feature about her early success. The optimistic tone of the article feels like a fairy tale now, a story about someone else's life. She remembers the rush of winning that first design competition, how certain she'd been that it was just the beginning. Now, those accolades gather dust like everything else. Her phone chimes with texts from the hospital's billing department. Camila closes her eyes, letting her head rest against the cool wall. The numbers swim behind her eyelids. Medical bills, rent, utilities, suppliers, each one a small cut, bleeding her dry. Across town, in a sleek office building that seems to touch the sky, Mateo Vargas studies a different set of numbers. Market analyses and shareholders' reports spread across his desk, but his attention keeps drifting to the tablet displaying Camila's portfolio. Her designs stand out, not just for their craftsmanship, but for the story they tell. A story of talent constrained by circumstance, of dreams hemmed in by reality. His assistant enters with another stack of reports, this one detailing Camila's business history. Credit checks, tax records, medical bills, a paper trail of a woman fighting to keep her world from unraveling. Mateo's fingers trace the edge of a photo from the gala, catching on the fierce determination in Camila's eyes as she presented her work. "Sir?" His assistant hovers uncertainly. "The board is asking about the shareholders' meeting next month. They're concerned about—" "I know what they're concerned about," Mateo cuts in, his tone clipped. The whispers have been growing louder. Doubts about his leadership, questions about his personal life affecting the company's stability. He needs a solution, something to silence the critics and secure his position. His gaze returns to Camila's photo. Perhaps they can help each other. The sun sets on Los Angeles, painting the sky in shades of possibility and desperation. In her studio, Camila works by lamplight, each stitch a small act of defiance against the growing darkness. She doesn't notice the envelope until she reaches for her scissors. A certified letter from her landlord, the words "eviction notice," stark against the white paper. The notice trembles in her hands, the legal language blurring through unshed tears. 3 weeks. She has 3 weeks to catch up on rent or lose everything. Her studio, her boutique, her chance at saving her mother. The walls seem to close in, the carefully arranged dresses now looking more like shrouds than dreams. Morning light finds Camila surrounded by her inventory, methodically attaching sale tags to pieces she'd sworn she'd never discount. Each number she writes feels like a small surrender, an admission that her work is worth less than she'd believed. The boutique's front window now sports a sale sign that makes her stomach clench every time she looks at it. Her phone chimes with a text from her mother. "Don't forget to eat lunch, mi amor." Camila glances at the time, nearly 3, and she hasn't eaten since yesterday's coffee. The reminder of her mother's care, even now, makes her throat tight. She can't tell her about the eviction notice, can't add another worry to the growing pile of concerns that show in the dark circles under Rosa's eyes. The bell above the door chimes, and Camila straightens, professional smile already in place. It falters when she sees who it is. Mateo Vargas stands in her boutique's entrance, his presence making the space feel suddenly smaller. He's traded the formal suit from the gala for something more casual, though Camila suspects his sweater costs more than her monthly utilities. His eyes scan the space, taking in the sale signs with an expression she can't quite read. "Mr. Vargas?" she says, keeping her voice neutral. "Looking for something specific?" He moves through her boutique with unhurried confidence, fingers trailing along a rack of evening wear. "Your work, actually. I've been thinking about it since the gala." He pauses at a burgundy cocktail dress, examining the intricate beading at the neckline. "You're selling these at a discount?" The question carries an edge that makes Camila's spine stiffen. "Market adjustments," she says smoothly, the lie bitter on her tongue, "testing different price points." "Interesting strategy." He turns to face her fully, and something in his gaze makes her feel exposed, as if he can see straight through her careful facade to the desperation beneath. "Especially for pieces of this quality." Camila busies herself with adjusting a display, needing to do something with her hands. "Did you come here to critique my business decisions, Mr. Vargas?" "Please, call me Mateo." He moves closer, and she catches a whiff of expensive cologne. "And no, I came here because I have a proposition for you." The word hangs in the air between them, heavy with possibility. Camila's seen that look before on the faces of investors who wanted to strip her brand down to its bones, remake it in their image. "I'm not interested in selling my business." "Neither am I." Mateo glances at his phone as it buzzes, something dark flashing across his features before he silences it. "This is something different, a mutual solution to our respective problems." "Our problems?" Camila can't quite keep the edge from her voice. "I wasn't aware we shared any." "You need capital to keep your boutique alive and support your mother's medical treatment." He holds up a hand when she starts to protest. "And I need to stabilize my public image before my shareholders lose faith entirely." The clinical way he lays out her struggles makes Camila's cheeks burn. "How do you—" "I do my research." He moves to the window, looking out at the quiet street. "The fashion industry loves a good story, Miss Reyes. A talented designer rising from adversity, backed by the right resources. It could change everything for your brand. And what's in it for you?" The question comes out sharper than she intended. Mateo turns back to her, and for a moment, she glimpses something vulnerable beneath his polished exterior. "Marriage," he says simply. "A partnership that benefits us both." The word hits Camila like a physical blow. She actually takes a step back, bumping into a rack of dresses. "Marriage?" Her laugh sounds hollow even to her own ears. "You can't be serious." "Entirely." His tone is matter-of-fact, as if he's proposing a business merger rather than a life-altering arrangement. "A year, maybe 2, long enough to satisfy my board and establish your brand. We'd both maintain our independence, of course. There would be contracts, agreements, everything handled professionally." Camila stares at him, searching for signs that this is some elaborate joke. But Mateo's expression remains serious, his eyes steady on hers. Through the window behind him, she can see her Salvation sale signs reflected in the glass, a reminder of just how desperate her situation has become. "You're insane," she says finally, but the words lack conviction. "I'm practical." He pulls a business card from his wallet, placing it carefully on her counter. "Think about it. Your mother's treatment, your boutique, your dreams, all secured. In return, I get a partner who understands the value of discretion and mutual benefit." The bell chimes again as he leaves, and Camila stands frozen, staring at the card on her counter. It sits there like a challenge, like a lifeline, like a deal with the devil. Outside, Los Angeles traffic hums, indifferent to the way her world has just tilted on its axis. 3 days later, Camila sits in a private room at an upscale restaurant, her finger tracing the rim of an untouched water glass. The contract Mateo's lawyers have prepared sits between them on the white tablecloth, its pages thick with possibilities and restrictions. "Everything's outlined clearly," Mateo says, his voice low despite their privacy. "Your boutique would receive immediate investment. Your mother's medical care would be fully covered." He pauses, studying her face. "You'd maintain complete creative control of your brand." Camila's hand stills on her glass. "And what exactly would you be getting besides a convenient PR solution?" "Stability." Something flickers in his eyes, uncertainty, maybe even fear. My father built this company from nothing. The board, they think I'm too much of a risk, too unpredictable. A stable marriage, a partnership with someone talented and driven, it would change their perception. So I'd be window dressing. The words taste bitter. No. His response comes quickly, almost sharply. You'd be a partner. Your success would be genuine, earned through your own talent. The marriage would simply remove the obstacles in your path. Camila looks down at the contract again, at all the carefully worded clauses that would reshape her life. And if I refuse, then we part ways here. No harm done. Mateo sits back, his expression carefully neutral. But we both know your options are limited. The eviction notice gives you what, 2 more weeks? The reminder stings. Camila thinks of her mother's brave smile at her last treatment, of the boutique's empty aisles, of all the dreams slowly slipping through her fingers. I have conditions, she says finally, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Mateo leans forward slightly, his attention focused entirely on her. Name them. Complete independence in my design work. No interference, no suggestions about my brand's direction. She meets his gaze squarely. And my mother never knows this isn't real. She can't handle that kind of stress right now. Done. He doesn't even hesitate. Anything else? Camila takes a deep breath, steeling herself. I want to know why me. Really, not the polite version you've prepared. For the first time, Mateo looks genuinely caught off guard. He's silent for a long moment, considering. Because you have as much to lose as I do, he says finally. Because you understand that sometimes survival means compromise. And because, he pauses, choosing his words carefully, because when I saw your work at the gala, I recognized something. The same drive that made my father build his company that makes me fight to keep it now. The honesty in his voice makes something shift in Camila's chest. She looks down at the contract again, at the pen waiting beside it. Her mother's face flashes through her mind, followed by images of her boutique, her designs, all the dreams she's not ready to let go of. 1 year, she says quietly, picking up the pen. We try this for 1 year. Mateo nods, and Camila sees relief flash across his features before his usual composure returns. She signs her name with steady hands, each letter a step toward either salvation or ruin. The ink dries quickly, binding them together in this elaborate fiction. Outside the restaurant's tinted windows, Los Angeles sparkles in the evening light, a city built on dreams and deals and desperate gambles. Camila tucks the contract into her bag, already feeling the weight of her decision settling around her shoulders. Well, she says, meeting Mateo's eyes across the table. I guess we're engaged. His smile doesn't quite reach his eyes, but his nod is respectful. They sit in silence for a moment, two strangers bound together by necessity and ambition, neither quite ready to acknowledge the magnitude of what they've just set in motion. The waiter appears with champagne, Mateo's silent signal that their business discussion has ended and their public performance must begin. As Camila lifts her glass, she catches her reflection in the window, a woman on the edge of either triumph or disaster, betting everything on a stranger's promise and her own desperate hope. The champagne bubbles sparkle like warnings, like possibilities, like tears. The contract sits on Camila's workbench like a loaded gun. She's been staring at it for hours, watching shadows creep across its pristine pages as the Los Angeles night deepens around her. Her fingers trace the edge of Mateo's business card, now dog-eared from constant handling. The numbers mock her, medical bills, rent notices, supplier invoices, each one a weight dragging her closer to the edge. Her phone buzzes. Sophia, tell me you're not actually considering this. Sophia's voice carries the sharp edge of concern that Camila's come to expect from her oldest friend. Marriage isn't a business deal, Cammy. Camila's gaze drifts to the stack of unopened bills. It could save the boutique, Mom's treatments. Could destroy you. Sophia cuts in. I've seen these arrangements before. The rich guy always wins. He's different. The words slip out before Camila can catch them. She thinks of Mateo's steady gaze, the careful way he laid out their arrangement. No false promises, no hidden agendas, just a clear path forward. He understands what this means to me. Does he? Sophia's skepticism crackles through the line. Or does he understand what you mean to his image? The question hits too close to home. Camila closes her eyes. Remembering the way Mateo's shoulders had tensed when he mentioned his board of directors, there had been real fear there, buried beneath his polished exterior. Maybe we need each other. That's not love, Cammy. No, Camila agrees, her fingers finding a loose thread on her sleeve. But it might be survival. The silence stretches between them, heavy with everything they're not saying. Outside, a car alarm wails briefly before falling silent, leaving only the familiar hum of the city at night. Just promise me you'll think about it, Sophia says finally. Really think about it. Not just about the money or your mom or the boutique. About what it means to tie yourself to someone like that. I promise. Camila's voice sounds distant to her own ears. After they hang up, she moves to her dress form, adjusting the fall of fabric with practiced hands. The beadwork catches the light, each crystal a tiny star in her dim studio. Her whole world contained in this small space. She thinks about Mateo's world, the towering office buildings, the shareholder meetings, the constant scrutiny. Could she really navigate that life? The thought makes her stomach twist, but not as much as the idea of losing everything she's built. Morning finds her still awake, watching dawn paint the sky in shades of possibility and doubt. The cafe Mateo chose for their meeting sits between their worlds. Not quite downtown, not quite her neighborhood. Camila arrives early, her portfolio clutched like a shield. She's brought her latest designs, though she's not sure why. Maybe to remind herself who she is, what she's fighting for. Mateo arrives precisely on time, his casual attire doing nothing to diminish his presence. He orders coffee for both of them. She notices he remembers how she takes hers, before settling into the chair across from her. You have questions. It's not a question. His gaze is steady, patient. How would this work? Camila forces herself to meet his eyes. Really work, day to day. You'd maintain your studio, your boutique. He gestures to her portfolio. Your creative independence is non-negotiable. I've made that clear in the contract. And us? Something flickers across his face. Uncertainty, maybe even vulnerability. We'd present a united front in public. Private residences would remain separate, though we'd need to coordinate appearances. My board needs stability, not a fairy tale. The pragmatism in his voice steadies her somehow. This isn't about romance or fairy tales. This is business, survival, mutual benefit. She can understand those terms. And when it ends, clean break. Everything we discussed, your boutique, your mother's care, remains secure. He pauses, studying her face. I'm not looking to trap you, Camila. I'm looking for a partner. The word catches her off guard. Partner. Not wife, not trophy, not savior. Partner. She opens her portfolio, spreading her latest sketches across the table. These are my fall collection concepts. Her voice grows stronger as she talks about her work. I won't compromise on my vision. I wouldn't ask you to. He leans forward, genuinely interested. Your talent is what caught my attention in the first place. Compromising that would defeat the purpose. They spend the next hour discussing her designs, his business, the careful dance they'll need to perfect. By the time they leave, the sun is high overhead, casting sharp shadows across the sidewalk. Think about it, Mateo says as they part. Take your time. But they both know time is the one luxury she doesn't have. Back in her studio, Camila spreads the contract across her workbench again. The language is clear, protective. Her lawyers would be impressed if she could afford them. Every clause seems designed to preserve her independence while providing the support she desperately needs. Her phone chimes with a reminder about her mother's next treatment. The cost makes her chest tight, but for the first time in months, she sees a way forward. Not just survival, but growth. Her designs reaching the audience they deserve, her mother getting the care she needs. The price is high, her independence, her privacy, her heart if she's not careful. But as she looks around her studio at all the dreams she's stitched together, she realizes the price of letting go would be higher. Her signature looks strange on the contract, too delicate for such a weight. But it's done. The courthouse is all clean lines and echoing footsteps. Camila's simple white dress feels both too much and not enough for the occasion. No family, no friends, just witnesses pulled from Mateo's legal team, their faces professionally blank as they sign the papers. Mateo looks sharp in his tailored suit, his expression carefully neutral. But when he slips the ring onto her finger, elegant but not ostentatious, exactly her style, his hands are gentle. Their eyes meet briefly, an unspoken acknowledgement passing between them. This is real now, for better or worse. The ceremony takes less than 20 minutes. No rice, no champagne, no congratulations. Just the quiet click of the door closing behind them as they step out into the California sun as husband and wife. Ready? Mateo asks, his hand hovering near her lower back but not quite touching. Camila nods, though she's not sure what she's ready for. The ring feels foreign on her finger, a constant reminder of the choice she's made. The charity gala is their first test. Camila feels the weight of every eye as they enter, her arm linked through Mateo's. Her dress, one of her own designs, fits perfectly, but she feels exposed, vulnerable. The whispers follow them like perfume. Mateo Vargas's new wife, the designer. So sudden. Mateo's hand tightens slightly on her arm, grounding her. He guides her through the crowd with practiced ease, making introductions, fielding questions. She notices how he always mentions her work first, her marriage second. A subtle but deliberate choice. Camila's fall collection is generating quite a buzz, he tells a group of investors, his pride sounding genuine. Her innovative use of sustainable materials is particularly noteworthy. She plays her part, discussing her designs with passion and precision. But she can't ignore the undercurrent of judgment in some of the glances, the way certain women draw back slightly when Mateo introduces her. Ignore them, Mateo murmurs during a quiet moment. They'll adjust. But it's not that simple. Every interaction feels loaded, every gesture analyzed. She catches fragments of conversations as they move through the room. Married so quickly. His type, clearly. After his money, obviously. The words sting, even though she knew they would come. Mateo remains steadfast beside her, his presence both comforting and confining. This is his world, and she's still learning its rules. A passing server offers champagne. Camila takes a glass, grateful for something to do with her hands. The bubbles catch the light like the beading on her dress, like tears she refuses to shed. Mrs. Vargas? The title makes her start slightly. An older woman approaches, her elegant bearing marking her as old money. Your line has such potential. We must discuss a private showing for my daughter's wedding. The praise is genuine, the interest professional. Camila engages eagerly, grateful for the familiar territory of fashion and design. This, at least, she knows how to navigate. But then a ripple moves through the crowd, heads turning toward the entrance. Camila feels Mateo tense beside her before she sees why. Isabella Santiago sweeps into the room like a storm front, all sleek lines and deadly grace. Her presence commands attention, her smile carries secrets. When her gaze lands on Camila and Mateo, something predatory flashes in her eyes. Darling, she purrs, approaching them with the confidence of someone who knows they hold power. Aren't you going to introduce me to your new acquisition? The word hangs in the air like poison. Camila feels Mateo's hand press against her back, steadying her. Isabella, he says, his voice cool, I wasn't aware you were in town. Oh, I wouldn't miss this. Isabella's gaze rakes over Camila, assessing and dismissing in the same breath. How quaint. Trading down, aren't we? The insult is so perfectly crafted it takes Camila a moment to feel its full sting. Around them, conversations have hushed, the crowd hungry for drama. My work speaks for itself, Camila says quietly, meeting Isabella's gaze, as does my husband's judgment. Something dangerous flickers in Isabella's eyes. Oh, honey, his judgment? She laughs, the sound like breaking glass. Ask him about the Martinez merger, or should I say disaster? Mateo's face hardens. That's enough, Isabella. Is it? She steps closer, her voice dropping to a stage whisper. Does your little seamstress know what she's really signed up for? The words echo in Camila's head as they leave the gala hours later. Mateo is quiet in the car, his jaw set in a way she's learning means trouble. She wants to ask about the Martinez merger, about what Isabella meant, about all the things she's beginning to suspect she doesn't know. But the ring on her finger catches the streetlights, reminding her of contracts signed and promises made. They're in this together now, for better or worse. The tabloid headlines appear 2 days later. Vargas Industries' heir weds unknown designer, rebound romance, or calculated move? Inside Mateo Vargas's whirlwind marriage, each article more sensational than the last. Camila's phone buzzes constantly with notifications, her social media flooded with comments ranging from curious to cruel. Her boutique sees a surge of visitors, but many seem more interested in catching a glimpse of Mrs. Vargas than examining her designs. It'll pass, Mateo assures her, but she notices the way he scans each headline, the tension in his shoulders when Isabella's name appears in the coverage. She's learning to read him, this man who is now her husband. The way he checks his phone obsessively during meals, the late-night calls he takes in hushed tones, the careful way he answers questions about his company's future. Something is wrong, something beyond Isabella's spite and society's judgment. She sees it in the stack of financial reports he carries everywhere, in the worried glances his executives exchange when they think no one's watching. But when she tries to ask, he deflects with practiced ease. "Focus on your designs," he says, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. "Let me handle the business side." So she does, throwing herself into her work with renewed intensity. Her new collection takes shape under her hands, each piece a statement of who she is, what she can create. The attention from her marriage brings unexpected opportunities. Buyers who wouldn't have given her a second glance before are now eager to see her work. But at night, in her studio that feels both sanctuary and prison, she wonders about the price of this success, about the secrets her new husband keeps, about the storm she can feel gathering on the horizon. The ring glints on her finger as she sketches, a constant reminder of the deal she's made. Partner, he'd called her. But partners share burdens, share truths. Outside her window, Los Angeles glitters like broken glass, beautiful and dangerous. She's part of that world now, for better or worse. The question is, which will it be? After the gala, Mateo paces his office, phone pressed to his ear. "I want everything," he tells his head of security. "Every move she's made since the divorce, every contact, every transaction." He pauses by the window, watching the city lights blur through the glass. Isabella's not here by chance. His security team's report arrives the next morning. Meetings with key shareholders, quiet dinners with board members, a pattern too deliberate to be coincidence. Mateo's jaw tightens as he reads. "She's been laying groundwork, building alliances. She's trying to undermine my position," he tells his closest advisors, "using my marriage to Camila as leverage." The irony doesn't escape him. His attempt to stabilize his image has given Isabella the very weapon she needed. Meanwhile, Camila's designs begin drawing serious attention. A respected fashion editor features her work in a major publication, praising her innovative fusion of classic techniques with modern sensibilities. Orders flow in, each piece a testament to her vision. But Isabella's influence shadows even this success. Whispers circulate through elite circles about Camila's convenient timing, suggesting her marriage was calculated to boost her career. Some longtime clients distance themselves, uncomfortable with the controversy. Isabella's latest move is more direct. A scathing interview in a prominent magazine filled with carefully worded insinuations about Mateo's judgment and Camila's motivations. "It's sad, really," she's quoted saying. When a man of his position feels compelled to marry so hastily, one has to question what's really driving these decisions. The article mentions rumors of instability within Vargas Industries, linking Mateo's quick marriage to alleged attempts to shore up investor confidence. Each word is a perfectly aimed arrow designed to wound both personally and professionally. Late one night, Camila finds financial reports Mateo left in his study. The numbers tell a story different from his assured public stance. Declining profits, nervous investors, strategic positions being quietly undermined. She recognizes Isabella's name on several key documents, always on the periphery, but present, like a shadow growing longer as the sun sets. When she tries to broach the subject, Mateo's response is too smooth, too practiced. "Business fluctuations," he says, "nothing to concern yourself with." But she sees the tension in his shoulders, the way he checks his phone obsessively, the late-night meetings that leave him drained and distant. Something is very wrong at Vargas Industries, something beyond Isabella's social maneuvering. Camila stands in her studio, surrounded by the beauty she creates, and realizes she's entangled in something far more complex than a marriage of convenience. The question is no longer whether she can navigate Mateo's world. It's whether that world is about to collapse around them both. The city lights of Los Angeles twinkle through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Mateo's penthouse, casting long shadows across the marble dining table. Camila takes another bite of her barely touched risotto, watching Mateo's face as he discusses the latest company developments. There's something off about his tone tonight, a slight tension around his eyes that doesn't match his casual words. The quarterly projections are strong, he says, swirling his wine glass. Rafael's been instrumental in streamlining our operations. Rafael Silva? Camila asks, remembering the name from previous conversations. Your CFO? Chief Strategy Officer now, actually. Mateo's phone buzzes against the table. He glances at it, his jaw tightening almost imperceptibly before he silences it. He's been with the company since my father's time. And the shareholder concerns you mentioned last week? Under control. Mateo's response comes too quickly, too smoothly. Rafael's handling it. The name again. Camila sets down her fork, studying the man across from her. After weeks of marriage, even one of convenience, she's learned to read the subtle shifts in his demeanor, the way his shoulders tense when he's worried, how his answers become more polished when he's hiding something. You never mentioned what triggered their concerns in the first place, she says carefully. Mateo's phone buzzes again. This time he stands, straightening his jacket. Excuse me, I need to take this. Camila watches him disappear down the hallway, his voice dropping to a harsh whisper as soon as he thinks he's out of earshot. She pushes back from the table, her designer heels silent against the polished floor as she moves through the penthouse. Mateo's home office door stands ajar, spilling warm light into the hallway. Camila hesitates, her conscience warring with her growing suspicion. The sound of Mateo's agitated voice carries from the balcony, and she makes her decision. The office is immaculate, every surface gleaming except for Mateo's desk. There, partially hidden behind his laptop, sits a stack of financial documents. Camila's fingers brush the edge of the top page, her pulse quickening as she recognizes the format of wire transfer records. She slides into Mateo's chair, scanning the documents with the practiced eye of someone who spent years managing her own business accounts. The numbers don't add up, not in the way normal business operations should. Shell companies with generic names keep appearing, receiving substantial transfers that coincide with shareholder payouts. And there it is again, Rafael Silva's signature, authorizing transactions that seem designed to obscure rather than clarify. Camila pulls out her phone, quickly photographing key pages before returning everything to its exact position. Her hands shake slightly as she opens her laptop, determination overriding her guilt. Hours later, Camila sits cross-legged on her bed in the guest room she still occupies, surrounded by printouts of public financial records. Her eyes burn from staring at spreadsheets, but she can't stop. Not when she's finally starting to see the pattern. The official reports paint one picture, a company weathering normal market fluctuations. But beneath that surface, in the gaps between transactions and the carefully worded press releases, she sees something else. Money moving in ways that suggest not just mismanagement, but deliberate sabotage. She needs more proof. The thought settles in her chest like a weight as she carefully files away her research. Until she understands exactly what she's dealing with, she can't risk confronting Mateo. Not when her mother's treatment and her boutique's survival depend on their arrangement. The next few days pass in a blur of careful investigation. Camila maintains their public appearances, charity lunches, board member dinners, while using every spare moment to dig deeper. Her design work suffers, but she can't focus on hemlines when she keeps finding Rafael Silva's fingerprints all over increasingly suspicious financial moves. The breakthrough comes on a Tuesday afternoon. Camila is reviewing archived reports when she notices it. A series of payments from one of Mateo's subsidiary accounts to a shell corporation she hasn't seen before. She traces the ownership chain, each new document making her heart beat faster. The final link hits her like a physical blow. The shell company connects directly to Isabella Santiago, Mateo's most vocal critic since his marriage to Camila. And the person authorizing the payments, Rafael Silva. The pieces slot together with terrible clarity. Rafael isn't just mismanaging funds, he's actively working with Isabella to undermine Mateo's leadership. The marriage that was supposed to stabilize Mateo's position has instead given his enemies ammunition, while Rafael systematically weakens the company from within. Camila stares at her screen, the evidence laid out in damning detail. She thinks of Mateo's increasing stress, the late-night calls, the careful way he deflects questions about company operations. How long has this betrayal been building? How much damage has already been done? The sun has set by the time Camila makes her way to Mateo's office building downtown. The security guard waves her through. They all know Mrs. Vargas by now. Her heels click against marble as she crosses the lobby, her tablet clutched like a shield against her chest. Mateo looks up from his desk when she enters, surprise flickering across his features. Camila, I thought we were meeting at... We need to talk. She closes the door behind her, steeling herself. About Rafael Silva. Mateo goes very still. What about him? He's working with Isabella. Camila moves to his desk, pulling up the evidence she's gathered of fries. They're systematically undermining your position while siphoning money through shell companies. Look. She walks him through her findings, watching his expression shift from confusion to disbelief to something raw and wounded. When she finishes, silence fills the office like smoke. How long have you been investigating this? Mateo's voice is dangerously quiet. A few days, since I noticed discrepancies in... You went through my private documents. It's not a question. You've been spying on my company. I was trying to help. The words burst out before she can stop them. You've been stressed, distracted. I knew something was wrong. So instead of asking me, you decided to go behind my back? Mateo stands, his chair rolling back with a sharp sound. Did you think I was too stupid to see what was happening in my own company? That's not. Rafael has been with this company for 20 years. Mateo's voice rises. He was there when my father died, when I had to step up and prove myself to the board. And you think you can waltz in here after a few weeks of marriage and accuse him of... The evidence is right there. Camila matches his tone, frustration overwhelming her usual composure. I know it hurts, but you have to see what's happening. Rafael isn't just betraying the company. He's betraying you. The words land like a slap. Mateo turns away, bracing his hands on the window ledge. Below, Los Angeles sparkles, indifferent to the drama unfolding above. Get out! His voice is barely audible. Mateo, please. The word sounds like it's being torn from him. I need to think. Camila gathers her things, pausing at the door. I know our marriage isn't real, she says quietly, but that doesn't mean I don't care what happens to you. The elevator ride down feels endless. Camila leans against the mirrored wall, her reflection showing a woman she barely recognizes, someone caught between worlds, trying to protect a man who may never forgive her for being right. Her phone buzzes just as she reaches her car. Mateo's name lights up the screen. Come back up. She finds him in his office, looking older than she's ever seen him. The evidence she gathered is spread across his desk, each page a testament to years of misplaced trust. You're right. The words seem to cost him. About all of it. Rafael, Isabella, I should have seen it. You trusted him. I was blind. Mateo runs a hand through his hair, disturbing its usual perfect style. And now I need your help. The admission hangs between them, shifting something fundamental in their dynamic. Camila moves closer, sensing the vulnerability beneath his controlled exterior. We'll expose them, she says. At the shareholder meeting next week, we'll show everyone exactly what they've been doing. Mateo looks at her then, really looks at her, like he's seeing her clearly for the first time. Why are you helping me? After everything? Because this is bigger than our arrangement. Camila meets his gaze steadily. Because you don't deserve to lose everything you've built. A moment passes between them, heavy with unspoken things. Then Mateo nods, turning to the evidence spread across his desk. Tell me your plan. They work late into the night, mapping out strategies and contingencies. Mateo's knowledge of corporate politics meshes with Camila's eye for detail, creating something stronger than either could manage alone. As the city sleeps below them, their marriage of convenience begins to transform into something neither of them expected. A true partnership forged in crisis and sealed with trust. Rafael Silva and Isabella Santiago won't know what hit them. Dawn creeps over the city as they finalize their strategy. Camila pulls up her boutique's contact list on her tablet, scrolling through names of fashion editors and industry influencers. We need to control the narrative, she explains, highlighting key contacts. I can reach out to these journalists, they trust me, plant stories that hint at Rafael's mismanagement without showing our full hand. Mateo nods, his tie long discarded, sleeves rolled up as he makes notes. Meanwhile, I'll start moving key projects away from his oversight, quietly. If he suspects we're onto him, he'll try to cover his tracks, Camila finishes, or worse, accelerate whatever he's planning with Isabella. They exchange glances, understanding passing between them. The stakes couldn't be higher. One wrong move and they could lose everything. The shareholder meeting is our best shot, Mateo says, pulling up the agenda. We present the evidence after his quarterly report. Maximum impact. Camila studies his profile in the early morning light, noting the determination that's replaced his earlier anger. You know this could get ugly. Isabella won't go down quietly. No. A ghost of a smile touches his lips, but neither will we. He turns to face her fully, his expression softening. I'm sorry I doubted you when you showed me the evidence. You were hurt. Camila touches his arm lightly. Rafael was family. Was, Mateo agrees, his hand covering hers. But you're family now, even if... He trails off, leaving the reality of their arrangement unspoken. The moment stretches between them, charged with possibility. Then Camila's phone chimes, a reminder of her morning client meeting, and they step apart. I'll start making calls, she says, gathering her things. Set things in motion. Mateo walks her to the door, their steps in sync. Be careful, Rafael has eyes everywhere. You too. They share one last look before Camila heads for the elevator. As she descends toward the awakening city, she realizes something has shifted between them. Their marriage may have started as a business arrangement, but standing together against betrayal has forged something stronger. Trust, understanding, and maybe, just maybe, the beginning of something real. The city lights of Los Angeles shimmer like scattered diamonds through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Mateo's penthouse. Camila's fingers trace invisible patterns on the smooth surface of his mahogany desk as she studies the documents spread before them. Her wedding ring catches the light, a constant reminder of the stakes involved. Look at this. She slides a tablet across the desk, careful not to disturb the organized chaos of papers. The guest list for the show includes every major fashion editor in Los Angeles, plus key buyers from New York and Paris. Her heart races at the thought of such exposure, but she keeps her voice steady. If we time the reveal right, the industry buzz could shift shareholder sentiment in our favor. Mateo looks up from his laptop, dark circles under his eyes betraying nights of lost sleep. His shirt sleeves are rolled up, tie discarded hours ago. You're suggesting we use your show as leverage against Isabella? Not just leverage. Camila stands, pacing the length of the window. The city sprawls beneath her like a circuit board of light and shadow. A statement. Your shareholders need to see that our partnership strengthens both sides. My success in fashion proves your judgment in both business and personal matters. A ghost of a smile crosses Mateo's face. Using their doubts against them. Clever. I learned from the best. She doesn't mean it as a compliment exactly, but something shifts in Mateo's expression. Pride, maybe, or appreciation. He turns back to his screen, fingers flying over the keyboard. Rafael's been sloppy. Look at these transactions. His jaw tightens as he pulls up financial records. Shell companies, all linked back to Isabella. He thought he covered his tracks, but he got comfortable. Camila finishes. She knows the feeling. Success breeding complacency until the ground shifts beneath your feet. How long has he been working with her? Mateo's silence speaks volumes. When he finally answers, his voice is thick with betrayal. The timestamps on these emails go back months. Before our marriage? Before? He breaks off, running a hand through his already disheveled hair. I trusted him. He was like family. Camila watches his reflection in the window, seeing not the polished businessman who proposed their arrangement, but a man wounded by betrayal. She thinks of her own family, of her mother's quiet strength through illness, of promises made and kept despite impossible odds. Then we make him regret it, she says, turning back to face him. Not just professionally. We show him exactly what family loyalty means. The next week passes in a blur of preparation. Camila's studio transforms into a war room of sorts. Sketches and fabric samples sharing space with financial documents and shareholder profiles. She works with a precision born of desperation, each stitch in her collection a small act of defiance against those who would see them fail. Her phone buzzes constantly with confirmations from industry contacts. Anna Chen, the editor of Style Quarterly, sends a personal note. Intrigued by your new direction, can't wait to see what you've created. Each message feels like ammunition, building towards something bigger than herself. The venue she's chosen is a converted warehouse in the Arts District, all exposed brick and industrial charm. As she walks through the space with her production team, Camila can already envision how it will transform. The raw space lending authenticity to her designs, the lighting she's planned casting everything in a glow that speaks of both elegance and edge. The speakers for the surround sound go there, she directs, pointing to strategic corners, and we'll need extra power outlets for the cameras. Press row needs perfect sightlines. Her assistant, Maya, scribbles notes frantically. The guest list is at capacity. We've had to start a waiting list. Perfect. Camila allows herself a small smile. Exclusivity breeds desire. Another lesson learned in this new world she inhabits. Make sure the shareholders have priority seating. I want them close enough to see every detail. That evening, in the quiet of her studio, Camila runs her hands over her centerpiece design, a gown that captures everything she wants to say about power and vulnerability, strength and grace. The beading catches the light like armor, but the silk moves like water. It's a statement piece meant to close the show and cement her place in this world of wealth and influence. Her phone rings. Mateo's name flashes on the screen. We have a problem, he says without preamble. Raphael's been asking questions about the show. The wrong kind of questions. Camila's fingers still on the fabric. What kind of questions? About security protocols, vendor contracts, details he has no business knowing. Mateo's voice is tight with controlled anger. He's planning something. Let him, Camila says, surprising herself with her own certainty. Whatever he tries will be ready. But she's not ready. Not really. The morning of the show dawns crisp and clear, Los Angeles sunshine streaming through the venue's high windows. Camila arrives early, wanting to oversee every detail personally. The space is coming together exactly as she envisioned. The runway, a stark white path through the industrial space, chairs arranged with mathematical precision. Then Maya bursts through the door, face pale. The collection, she gasps. Someone's been in the storage room. Camila's heart stops, then restarts at double speed. She runs, her heels echoing against concrete floors. Maya's footsteps close behind. The storage room door stands slightly ajar, though she distinctly remembers locking it the night before. Inside, chaos reigns. Garment bags lay open, their contents scattered. Her centerpiece gown, the one meant to close the show, is missing entirely. Other pieces show signs of tampering. A strategic snip here, a loosened seam there, the kind of damage that wouldn't be noticed until it was too late. No, she breathes, the word more prayer than denial. No, no, no. Her phone vibrates in her pocket. Messages from models already arriving for hair and makeup, press checking in for their credentials, buyers and editors and critics all converging on her moment of crisis. And somewhere in the city, Rafael Silva is probably smiling, thinking he's won. Camila closes her eyes just for a moment. She thinks of her mother's quiet strength through endless hospital visits, of nights spent sewing by lamplight when the electricity was cut off, of all the times she should have given up but didn't. Her eyes snap open. Maya, she says, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. Call everyone in, every seamstress, every assistant, now. But the show starts in 5 hours, I know. Camila's already pulling fabric from her emergency supplies, mind racing through possibilities. Get me Mateo on the phone and find out which models are here already. We're going to need everyone. The next 4 hours pass in a blur of focused chaos. Camila works with mechanical precision, her team rallying around her with a dedication that makes her throat tight. They reshape collections, modify designs, create new pieces from salvaged materials. Each garment tells a story of resilience, of beauty forged under pressure. Word spreads through the venue, whispers about sabotage, about industry rivalry gone too far. But something unexpected happens. Other designers attending the show send over materials, resources, even a few backup pieces. A renowned stylist volunteers her services, helping to reorder the show's progression to hide the gaps. They're saying it's industry solidarity, Maya reports, running by with an armful of hastily altered garments, standing against corporate bullying. Camila almost laughs at the irony. She's supposed to be the corporate player now, isn't she? But there's no time for reflection. The venue is filling up, camera flashes already popping as early arrivals take their seats. Her phone buzzes. Mateo. The shareholders are here, he says without preamble. Isabella's with them. Camila's hands still on the hem she's adjusting. Of course she is. Front row? Center stage, she's wearing white. This time, Camila does laugh, though there's no humor in it. Perfect. Let her see exactly what we're made of. The lights dim right on schedule, the buzz of conversation fading to anticipatory silence. Camila stands in the wings, watching her revised collection come to life on the runway. Each model moves with practiced grace, making the last-minute alterations look intentional, artistic even. The audience leans forward in their seats, phones raised to capture every moment. From her vantage point, Camila can see Isabella's face, watching for any crack in that perfect composure. The woman's expression remains neutral, but her fingers tap against her program with increasing frequency as the show progresses. When the audience bursts into spontaneous applause at a particularly striking piece, one of the emergency creations, ironically, Isabella's smile turns brittle. The final look approaches, and Camila holds her breath. It's not the showstopper she'd planned, but something born of crisis and creativity, a phoenix risen from the ashes of Raphael's sabotage. The model wears it like armor, each step deliberate and proud. The audience rises to their feet as the finale walk begins, and Camila feels tears prick at her eyes, not from joy or relief, but from sheer, exhausted determination. She steps out for her bow, and the applause washes over her like a wave. Later, after the crowds have dispersed and the venue begins to empty, Camila finds Mateo waiting in her makeshift office. His tie is perfectly straight, his suit immaculate, but something in his stance speaks of battle readiness. The fashion editor from the Times wants an exclusive, he says by way of greeting. Something about triumph over adversity, and 3 major buyers are already asking about orders. Camila sinks into a chair, finally allowing herself to feel the weight of the day. And the shareholders? Impressed. Not just by the show, but by how you handled the crisis. It's exactly the kind of leadership they respect. He pauses, studying her face. You know this isn't over. The shareholder meeting is just the beginning, she finishes. Her fingers find a loose thread on her sleeve, and she resists the urge to pull it. Raphael and Isabella won't stop until they've destroyed everything we've built. No, Mateo agrees, and something in his voice makes her look up. But neither will we. They sit in silence for a moment, the empty venue creaking around them like a ship settling at harbor. Through the windows, Los Angeles glitters with possibility and threat, a city built on dreams and schemes and the space between truth and fiction. Camila thinks of her mother, who will see the coverage tomorrow and beam with pride, never knowing how close it all came to falling apart. She thinks of Raphael, probably already planning his next move. Of Isabella, whose perfect mask cracked just slightly at the show's success. The shareholder meeting, she says finally, straightening in her chair. When? Tomorrow morning. Mateo's voice is grim. They've called an emergency session. Isabella's making her place sooner than we expected. Camila nods, already mentally preparing for another battle. Then we'd better be ready. The venue's lights flicker off one by one, leaving them in the gray half-light of evening. Outside, the city hums with life and schemes and secrets, indifferent to the dramas playing out in its glittering towers and converted warehouses. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new battles, new chances to lose everything they've fought to protect. But tonight, in this moment of temporary victory, Camila allows herself to feel the full weight of what they've accomplished and what still lies ahead. Her hand finds Mateo's in the growing darkness, and his fingers tighten around hers, warm and steady and sure. The war isn't over, but at least now they know exactly what they're fighting for. Morning arrives too soon, pale sunlight filtering through the boardroom's tinted windows. Camila adjusts the sleeve of her custom-designed suit, armor for a different kind of battlefield. The fabric whispers against her skin, each stitch placed with the same precision she'll need to survive the next few hours. Mateo stands beside her, his presence steady as shareholders file into the room. His hand brushes against hers, a gesture so slight it might have been accidental. But Camila feels its meaning. Solidarity, partnership, trust earned in crisis. The portfolio in her hands contains everything they've gathered: financial records, emails, proof of Raphael's betrayal. But it's the memory of yesterday's triumph that straightens her spine as Isabella Santiago sweeps into the room, Raphael 2 steps behind her like a well-trained shadow. Isabella takes her place at the head of the table, her white suit pristine, her smile razor sharp. "Ladies and gentlemen of the board," she begins, her voice carrying to every corner of the hushed room. "We're here today because Mateo Vargas's leadership has brought this company to a critical juncture." She gestures to Raphael, who distributes folders with practiced efficiency. These documents show a pattern of instability, of decisions driven by emotion rather than business acumen. Her gaze fixes on Camila, cold as winter. "His recent personal choices have already impacted our market position." Camila watches the shareholders leaf through Isabella's carefully crafted narrative. She sees doubt bloom in their expressions, sees the way they glance between Mateo and Isabella as if weighing dynasties. But Camila hasn't survived in fashion by playing it safe. She stands, drawing every eye in the room. Her voice, when it comes, carries the same strength that got her through countless sleepless nights and empty bank accounts. "You all attended my show yesterday," she begins, noting how Isabella's smile falters slightly. "You saw what happened when someone tried to destroy what we've built. But more importantly, you saw how we responded." Camila opens her own portfolio, laying out the evidence of Raphael's duplicity. Leadership isn't about avoiding crisis. It's about facing it with integrity and innovation, the same integrity that's missing from these documents. She taps the financial records linking Raphael to Isabella's shell companies, and the same innovation that turned sabotage into success. The room stills as the implications sink in. Raphael's face drains of color as board members examine the evidence. Isabella's mask cracks, just slightly, but enough. Mateo rises beside Camila, his voice carrying the weight of his family's legacy. "My father built this company on trust," he says. "Trust that I've earned every day through every crisis, including this one." The vote, when it comes, feels almost anticlimactic. Hands raised one by one, faith restored or perhaps simply realigned. Isabella's face hardens into marble as her gambit crumbles. Raphael doesn't meet anyone's eyes as they're escorted from the boardroom. Later, in the quiet of Mateo's office, Camila watches Los Angeles spread out below them, golden in the afternoon light. The city looks different from up here, smaller perhaps, or simply more manageable. "It's not over," Mateo says, joining her at the window. "They'll try again." Camila thinks of her mother's treatments, of her boutique's rising success, of all the battles still ahead. Her hand finds his, fingers interlacing with practiced ease. "Let them try," she says, and means it. The city glitters below them, a tapestry of light and shadow, of endings and beginnings. They've won this round, but Camila knows better than to celebrate too early. There will be other challenges, other crises, other moments when everything hangs by a thread. But for now, they stand together, watching their world reshape itself in the aftermath of victory. And somewhere in the city, a new design is taking shape in Camila's mind. Something born of struggle and triumph, of partnerships forged in crisis and strengthened by trust. The war isn't over, but at least now they know exactly what they're fighting for. The documents spread across Mateo's mahogany desk like battlefield plans. Camila leans forward, arranging financial records into neat chronological stacks, while Mateo paces behind her, his shirt sleeves rolled up and tie loosened. The study's warm lighting catches the sharp angles of his jaw as he pauses to examine a particularly damning email. "The timeline needs to be airtight," Camila says, reaching for a fresh legal pad. Her fingers are steady as she begins sketching out a detailed sequence of events. "If we show how the transfers coincide with Isabella's shell company formations, it would prove intent." Mateo moves closer, studying her neat handwriting. His shoulder brushes hers as he points to a specific date. Cross-reference that with Raphael's first unauthorized withdrawal. The contact sends a familiar warmth through her chest, but Camila forces herself to focus on the task at hand. They've spent hours preparing for tomorrow's shareholder meeting, dissecting every piece of evidence against Isabella and Raphael. Her back aches from hunching over documents, and her eyes burn from staring at endless columns of numbers. "Here." She taps a bank statement with her pen. This is where the pattern starts to emerge. Raphael wasn't just embezzling. He was creating a paper trail that would implicate you if anyone started asking questions. Mateo's hand tightens on the back of her chair. 15 years of friendship, and he was plotting this the entire time. The bitterness in his voice makes Camila look up. In the soft lamplight, she catches a glimpse of raw hurt beneath his usual composed exterior. "You need a break," she says softly, standing. Her legs protest the movement after hours of sitting. "Just 5 minutes. Clear your head." Mateo runs a hand through his dark hair, disheveling it further. "There isn't time. If we miss anything, we won't." Camila steps closer, resting her hand on his arm. The expensive fabric of his shirt can't hide the tension in his muscles. "But you need to be sharp tomorrow. We both do." He looks down at her hand, then meets her eyes. Something vulnerable flickers across his face. "I never thought it would come to this," he admits quietly. "The company, Raphael's betrayal, everything I've built." He shakes his head. "I should have trusted you sooner. Your insight into all of this. I've been a fool." "Hey," Camila squeezes his arm gently. "You're not losing anything tomorrow. Your leadership, your integrity, that's what built this company. The shareholders will see that." Mateo covers her hand with his touch warm and steady. "I don't deserve you," he murmurs. The words hang between them, heavy with meaning that neither of them is quite ready to voice. Camila's heart thunders in her chest, but she forces herself to step back, maintaining professional distance. "Let's finish the timeline," she says, turning back to the desk. "We need everything perfect for tomorrow." Later, after Mateo steps out to take an urgent call, Camila finds herself drawn to her small studio down the hall. She's barely had time to work here lately, but the space still feels like home. Her latest sketches flutter slightly in the air conditioning, pinned to the inspiration board alongside swatches of fabric. Her fingers trace the outline of a wedding dress design, one of her first after agreeing to marry Mateo. The lines are confident, ambitious, in a way her earlier work never dared to be. She remembers how terrified she'd been then, signing that contract and stepping into a world she barely understood. Now, standing in her own studio in Mateo's penthouse, surrounded by evidence of how far she's come, Camila feels a surge of determination. Tomorrow isn't just about saving Mateo's company. It's about proving that she belongs here, that she's more than just a convenient solution to a PR problem. The buzz of her phone pulls her from her thoughts. A text from her mother. "Praying for you both tomorrow, mi amor. You've got this." Camila smiles, tucking the phone away. Her mother's health has improved dramatically since starting the new treatments, though she still doesn't know the full story behind Camila's marriage. Some lies, Camila realizes, protect the people we love. Morning arrives too quickly, painting the city in shades of gold and promise. The shareholder meeting room fills with murmurs and tension as board members take their seats. Camila smooths her dress, one of her own designs naturally, and takes her place beside Mateo. His hand finds hers beneath the table, a brief squeeze of reassurance. Isabella Santiago sweeps in like a perfectly tailored storm, her red-soled heels clicking against the marble floor. She takes her position at the podium with practiced grace, her smile sharp as a stiletto. "Distinguished board members," she begins, her voice carrying just the right note of concern. "I come before you today not as an adversary, but as someone deeply invested in this company's future." She pauses, her gaze settling on Mateo. Recent events have raised serious questions about leadership and stability. Camila watches as Isabella presents her carefully crafted narrative, each word chosen to cast doubt on Mateo's judgment. The fabricated documents appear on the screen behind her, telling a story of mismanagement and poor decisions. When Isabella mentions their marriage, painting it as a desperate attempt to distract from company troubles, Camila feels Mateo tense beside her. "The numbers don't lie," Isabella concludes, her expression a perfect mask of regret. "This company deserves leadership that prioritizes stability over personal drama. Mr. Vargas's recent behavior." "Thank you, Miss Santiago." Mateo rises, his voice cutting through the murmurs like steel through silk. He moves to the front of the room with measured steps, radiating the quiet authority that first drew Camila's attention. "Leadership," he begins, "is about more than numbers. It's about integrity." His fingers move swiftly across his tablet, bringing up the first piece of evidence. These documents show a pattern of unauthorized transactions, all traced back to accounts controlled by Rafael Silva. The room stills as Mateo methodically dismantles Isabella's claims, presenting irrefutable proof of the conspiracy against him. Bank records, emails, shell company registrations, each piece fits perfectly into the timeline Camila helped construct. The real threat to this company, Mateo continues, his voice steady, comes from those who would sacrifice its legacy for personal gain. Rafael Silva betrayed not just me, but every person in this room who believed in our mission. Camila watches the shareholders' faces, noting the shifting expressions as the truth sinks in. But something's missing, the emotional connection that could tip the scales definitively in their favor. Before she can second-guess herself, she's on her feet. "Excuse me." Her voice carries clearly across the room. "I'd like to say something, if I may." Isabella's perfectly manicured hand tightens on the edge of her chair, but the board chairman nods his permission. Camila moves to stand beside Mateo, drawing strength from his presence. "When I first entered this world," she begins, "I was an outsider, a designer with big dreams and empty pockets." She meets the eyes of various board members, letting them see her sincerity. "What I found here wasn't just financial opportunity. It was a legacy built on trust and vision." Her voice grows stronger as she continues. "I've watched Mateo fight for this company's future, not because of pride or profit, but because he believes in what we can build together. The same dedication that made him notice a struggling designer's potential is what makes him an exceptional leader." The room falls silent as Camila finishes speaking. She can feel Isabella's glare, but it doesn't matter anymore. What matters is the thoughtful expressions on the shareholders' faces, the way they lean forward in their seats. The vote, when it comes, feels almost anticlimactic. Names are called, hands are raised, and suddenly it's done. Isabella and Rafael are removed from their positions, their access to company resources immediately revoked. Mateo's leadership is affirmed with a strong majority. As security escorts a quietly fuming Isabella from the room, Camila feels the tension drain from her shoulders. Mateo turns to her, his eyes bright with something more than just victory. The press conference that follows is a blur of cameras and questions. Mateo stands at the podium, his composure fully restored, and does something unexpected. He calls Camila forward. "This victory," he announces to the assembled reporters, "belongs in large part to my wife, Camila Reyes. Her intelligence, integrity, and unwavering support were crucial in exposing this conspiracy." His hand finds hers, warm and steady. She represents everything this company stands for: innovation, determination, and genuine partnership. The media explodes with questions, but Camila barely hears them. She's too focused on the way Mateo's thumb brushes across her knuckles, the pride in his voice when he speaks her name. Later, as they celebrate privately in the penthouse, Camila's phone won't stop buzzing with notifications. Her latest collection has caught fire on social media, with influential fashion blogs praising her innovative designs. 3 high-profile clients have requested custom pieces, and a prestigious fashion week has extended an invitation. "Your moment has arrived," Mateo says, handing her a glass of champagne. He's shed his jacket and tie, looking more relaxed than she's seen him in weeks. "Our moment," she corrects, taking the glass. The city sparkles beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, full of possibility. Mateo sets his own glass down, reaching into his pocket. "About that." He pulls out a small velvet box, and Camila's heart stops. "I had this made weeks ago, but the timing never felt right." He opens the box to reveal a stunning ring. Nothing like the elegant but impersonal one from their first ceremony. This one is unique, clearly designed with her aesthetic in mind. "Marry me," he says softly. "No contracts, no conditions, just us, building something real together." Camila stares at the ring, then at Mateo's face. She sees no trace of the calculating businessman who proposed their arrangement months ago. Instead, she sees the man who stood beside her through every challenge, who believed in her talent even when she doubted herself. "Yes," she whispers, and this time when he slips the ring onto her finger, it feels like a beginning rather than a business deal. They spend the evening planning their future, their conversation flowing as naturally as the champagne. Mateo wants to support her fashion empire's expansion, while Camila suggests ways to modernize his company's image. Their ideas intertwine like threads in a tapestry, each one strengthening the whole. Weeks later, Camila stands in their bedroom, studying her reflection in the full-length mirror. Her hand rests on her still flat stomach where their twins are growing, a secret she's been keeping until the perfect moment. "Everything okay?" Mateo appears in the doorway, concern flickering across his features. Camila turns to face him, a smile tugging at her lips. More than okay, she says. We're going to need a bigger penthouse. His brow furrows in confusion, then clears as understanding dawns. Are you? Twins, she confirms, watching joy transform his face. He crosses the room in 3 strides, gathering her into his arms. They stand together by the window, the city spread out before them like a glittering promise. Camila leans back against Mateo's chest, his hands protectively covering hers over their growing family. From struggling designer to respected businesswoman, from marriage of convenience to partnership of equals, their story has evolved in ways neither of them could have predicted. The future stretches ahead, bright with possibility, and this time they'll face it together. Thank you so much for watching and listening to our story. Your time and support mean the world to us. If this video resonated with you, please share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear what you think. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring content. Your engagement helps us grow and continue sharing meaningful stories. See you in the next video.